has been communicating with me in mind with regard to the music and the songs and everything that's happened thus far. I wrote myself a little frontispiece, if you like, from my own sermon today. I've never done this before. Well, I've done it, but I mean, it's not worth looking at. But today I thought it was worth looking at because always my talks need to have somewhere within them what I personally consider a gift. You might not always consider all the things I say, but they're meant to be, I promise you. So this one says, a special gift. The gift I want you to have today is a new way, perhaps, of lifting your mind. We all want to lift our minds in one way or another when we are especially coming to this time of the year when we're busy with New Year's resolutions, maybe, or throwing out the New Year's resolutions that we wrote last week. My purpose today, then, is to give the gift of a wonderful lesson that provides a lift in thinking, a lift that helps to clear away some of the shadows that have misted over the magnificence of the divine. Yes, thank you, more please, is one that I chose. Those of you who were in love with the Maharishi, say it for me. Maharishi Mahesh Yogi.
Yes.
Darling little man. And he was full of love, life, laughter, and joy, and wanted everybody to join him, and he had his special little things that he liked to say. And when anything good at all happened to him, or he saw something happening wonderful to somebody else, he would say, yes, thank you, more please. And it reminds me of our little friend up here. This is a little field mouse. That's my idea of what it is. If it isn't a field mouse, please tell me later. But he has obviously found a beautiful ripe apple out in a field somewhere and is making a feast out of it. And I could imagine him saying, yes, thank you, more please, more please. Those of you that have had dogs might recognize what I feel is in the mind. As soon as I've eaten this, I'm going to push this thing around and see if there's any left over on the outside. In other words, no hesitation in asking the world for more, please. Now, I don't know how about you when you were growing up. More, please, was not in the language. True. Many of us were not invited to ask for more. And that's sad, because especially seeing this little child here in the service with us. Now, Hazel is probably not listening to a word I have to say. But I believe in all kinds of power, and whatever I have to say that is good for her is hers now. We could all agree on that, I think. So that's enough about what I want my talk to be about for you. It's called, or at least I call it, How to Lift Your Mind. This is a little blurb that goes in the newspaper. Most of you don't see this, but I need to have this with me when I speak. Sally gave me a wonderful lesson last week when she commented to the congregation that something to the effect that it was a wonderful sermon, not at all what she had expected. Again, I told her I was going to talk. I do that from time to time. So this is, I got hooked on the idea of New Year's resolutions, which I did not want to do anything with or have anything to do with. But was afraid that the minister that spoke last week might do something about it, and I ought to give my representative of my well wishes for her. So I decided the best thing I could do was not look at her video at all, so that I wouldn't copy anything she had said. So there you go. Where are you? Okay. So I think of New Year's resolutions as a total and absolute waste of time. You might as well know how I feel about it. So, but there is some good to be learned from the things we don't want. That seems to be all that New Year's resolutions are about, is how not to do that before. Not to do that again. Whatever I resolved last year was absolutely wasted, so I don't want to do that one again. But we want to be better. We want to do something to improve. And my idea is that when a fresh idea is brought forth in our minds, the old forms begin to be rearranged. So the first thing that happens is that everything that you wanted before has gone to hell in a handbasket. So this seems to be that time of the year. It does seem to be happening around. We then have choices to make. Try to cling to the old thing and try even harder to make less of a mess of it than we made of it last year. Or cling to the old. That seems safe. And so many of us do that. I've done it a time or two myself. Dr. Holmes, on the other hand, says there is a creativeness in the mind of each one of us that uses an infinite creativeness, and that we can enter this field of universal goodness and take from it as much as we are ready to allow ourselves to receive. I'm reminded of the old Bible saying, all that the Father has is thine. Followed up by me, I can't find mine. But all that is there for us is already ours. Why is it that we can't seem to take it? There's a universal mind of goodness that has already provided for everything. And I'm just wondering what the little mouse thought, if it thought at all, about that apple. I wonder if it said, which idiot threw away a lovely apple? Or, how dare you throw your trash in my field? Or, I wonder how long it will take for me to eat this before somebody finds me and probably takes it away from me. But you see, I don't think that way at all. I've had a dog. If you've ever had a dog, you recognize that animals will look for the more. Where's the more? If I eat all this, will I be able to find some more somewhere? There's that ever-ongoing desire for there to be plenty. And there's no, I don't want it to be mine. I want there to be more for everyone. Now the Maharishi taught and believed, as part of his teaching, that acceptance, hear the word, acceptance is the first law of spirit. There can be no more if no one will accept what was offered before. There will be no new flowers if the soil cannot accept the rain. There is acceptance going on all over the universe, stuff we know nothing about. It's a way of life. It causes expansion. And if you think about as much as we know of this earth in its beginnings, there was a continual, and is a continual, case of expansion going on. Things become more clear. Things become easier to learn. There's an ease, an expansion. Ooh, that was a little bit difficult, but oh, now I see how that works. But we have to be willing to accept the first mistakes, if you like. There are mistakes. Our challenge our challenges are judgmentalism. We judge. I wonder what kind of apple this is. Is this good for me? And we can do this over and over and over again. The nature of creativity, the spiritual nature of creativity, is to create. It is not the nature of creativity to cast judgments. Judging is what we love to do, and I don't know why, but judging is what we love to do. We judge things. We see people going down the road we spoke of children. We see children with their parents. Now, some you will see that are loving their children and giving them wonderful time. Another one smacks the kid around the head and says, don't do that anymore. Don't you know people are watching, blah, blah, blah. Judgmentalism. I wish I could honestly say I don't care what anybody thinks about my children and what they do because of me. My children are people, and we judge people more than any other thing. Seeing things happen. I learned such a wonderful lesson when Colin and I were in the Pain Rehabilitation Center up in Eugene. There were so many people in there who were homeless. Now I suspect some of it was caused by the fact that they were so glad to be there. They didn't care what kind of illness they had, as long as they got shelter. But they are people. That wonderful song that Laura Lee chose for today, Let Me Be a Little Kinder, couldn't have been a better song for me. We are not designed to be, oh dear, I'm going to get in trouble for this, perfect. That may seem hard because we talk about the fact that we are made out of a perfect God. Absolute perfection. But our creation is not always perfect. We like to think in terms of the fact that this God, whatever we hold that to be, or however we hold it to work, must always create perfection. Not so, because when we are desiring to have creation, we put our human ideas into it. And we, with our perfect human ideas, are not perfect at all. We've got all kinds of imperfections sewn into the things we want to create out there in the world. We are influenced by our own humanity. Einstein said, no problem can be solved from the same level of consciousness or thinking that created it. If you have a problem, it is no good attacking the problem or approaching the problem in the same frame of mind as you held when you were creating the problem to start with. You cannot do it. We have to do something, and what I chose for us today with that little picture in mind was lift your thinking, lift your consciousness, go up a little bit, go up a little bit. If you were suddenly offered a home to live in, perhaps one of the homeless people, you were offered a home. For the moment, you would be grateful, you would be happy, maybe. But then you might not be. There are responsibilities, there are rules. Oh, there are things you've got to do. You'd be surprised how much stuff there is to do when you decide to become a minister. Do you know I had to decide to become a minister? It didn't just happen. I had to have a new idea about myself. When we get a new idea, as I said before, the old idea begins to get adjusted occasionally. Adjusted, you know, move over. We say to ourselves, well, it's not quite right the way it's being. Let's do it a little bit differently. And coming out of that consciousness, the difference is no different. So we have to start where we are. I want to be a minister. I want to do better. I want to be a doctor. I want to be able to do everything the way I ought. I want to do everything the way I should. We get swamped with the oughts and the shoulds and the judgments. The judgments. We must teach ourselves to see the good. Seeing the good in things is so much easier than making New Year's resolutions. Oh, they're work. They're work. They're hard work. When I wanted to be a minister, I had not been in religious science that long, but it suited me to a T. Oh my goodness me, this is so good. This is so truthful. I can't find anything wrong in it. I've got to get out there and teach everybody about it. I know it's good. That's my opinion. I know it's good. So I was at my first convention, I think, it's a long time ago, down in Los Angeles somewhere, going to a religious convention. That was hard to start with. And the streets were busy, and it had been raining, and I was running quickly across the street. And I tripped a little bit and stomped in a kind of a puddle. It was really, the gutter was full of rainwater. And I recognized that I had stomped on a postcard. But something about the postcard caught my eye, and I knew I wanted to pick it up. Husbands are not always, you know, good with that kind of stuff. But anyway, I got it. I got my postcard. It's a long story, but I'll cut it. It was a postcard of little animals. You could probably tell I like animals. And for some reason unknown to myself, I felt that this had something to do with my wanting to be a minister. So I picked it up and I took it home, and I got all the water out of it, and it had been run over by cars a couple of times, and somebody had thrown a cup of coffee on it, I don't know what. But I took it home, and I said to our daughter, who is quite a good artist, do you think you could copy this for me? I can't find, it doesn't say who drew it or any of those things. And she said, well, I'll see what I can do, but you know I don't copy. I'm like, the closest you can come to this, what can you do? So she tried. Copyright is very important, Mother, if you tell anybody about this. You have to say it was a copy. So I got that. Colin got that. Beautiful picture. I'll show it to you. You can't see it from there, but it's important for, okay, thank you. It's important for me to explain why I'm doing this today. It's important because I want you to see the trail. I want you to see what can take you from where you are, if it's not good health-wise or any otherwise. It's good to see how one thing in divine mind follows another thing. There's a poem in the middle of the little postcard, not so little now. It says, said the sparrow to the robin, I really would like to know why these anxious human beings rush about and worry so. Said the robin to the sparrow, friend, I think that it must be that they have no heavenly Father, such as cares for you and me. Okay. See, now that of course is not my religious mindset or anything like that, but I recognized at once that it had a gift for me for my argument with myself about becoming a minister. Now probably most of you don't, thank you so much, probably most of you don't have any idea what it means to become a minister. It means being woken up by the telephone at 3 o'clock in the morning. It means having to talk with people that you don't really want to talk to particularly, and it means doing it means a whole ton of responsibilities and all of that. And people would say to me, you're too old to start, Marcia, you're too old. Oh, by the way, that painting was done 40 years ago. 40 years ago, when I was just getting into the ministry. And I recognized that what it said, the message that it wrote, not what it said necessarily, but the message that it carried was that I don't need to worry. If there is a real desire in me to become a minister, it will happen. I will be that. I will be able to say and believe it, I am a minister. One of my dear friends who passed away long ago at a Silomar, another convention center, said to me, don't fret about it, Marcia. You just got ordained. Go down to the ocean and tell God about it. Ocean never took a bit of notice. Nothing I asked it to do or not do, nothing would it do. I am just me, but I am created out of the divine, therefore I carry the divine with me. Much as I'm embarrassed to say that out in public, I am divine. How many of you can actually say that? Oh, right, I knew we had some in here. That's great. You absolutely are right. Why is it so hard for us to honor the truth and so easy to accept the lies and the mistakes and all of those things? See here. Oh, I've already done all of that. You don't want to hit that again. Yes, we need to lift our thinking. Our thoughts operate totally independent of conditions. Doesn't matter what you've whooped up in your life, and most of you should by now know that whatever's going on in your life is your problem. Whatever you've done about that, your thinking is independent of what you have done, and if you will rethink it, it will rethink it for you in different ways. But the idea I want to give you is that you have a new assumption. instead of a New Year's resolution, have a new assumption. Get rid of the negative that you've been looking at, whatever it was, and start where you are. I looked at my little drawing and I decided right away, Heavenly Father will do. Heavenly Father will do until it won't do anymore, and then I can change it to something else. Heavenly Father got me through my first counseling session. I wonder what all these people that are counselors out there, there's millions of counselors out there. I don't know if they all went through what I went through the first time. I had to take my Science of Mind textbook, excuse myself for a moment or two with the textbook and go out into the hallway and say to God, where the hell does it say that in the Science of Mind textbook? That's what happens to, you might not think so, but that's what happens to a whole lot of ministers out there. Where in the Bible did it say that? Okay. It's so much easier to teach yourself a new idea around assumptions, because so much of what we believe in has developed out of assumptions. I assume, we do it all the time. Well, I don't really know, but I assume that so-and-so did this, that, and the other, and then it becomes a real thing. We've watched a lot of that lately. The postcard helped me until I became a minister. And I can't honestly tell you when that happened. Was it when they put the robe on my shoulder? Was it when somebody said something magnificent to me? I don't know. I rather suspect it was old Dr. Never mind, I won't do his name. Called to me as we were walking down paths in Asilaman, lovely park. He called out, "Hey, beautiful." And he laughed out loud, and there were plenty of people around, and he said, "Ha ha ha ha, see, I said beautiful," and she turned around and but something inside me knew it was true. You know, might not be my face or my body or anything else, but my heart is beautiful. My soul is beautiful. Nothing in your life can damage your soul. Your soul is indestructible and is beautiful and will be beautiful forever. So, divine mind, good, I'm coming to the end. Divine mind cannot give you what you will not accept. And 9 times out of 10, we refuse to accept some good that has been presented to us. Now, it may not be a physical thing, but 9 times out of 10, women will not turn around when someone yells out, "Hey, beautiful." They don't want to accept it because they are afraid of what people will think of them. How much do you refuse to accept in the goodness of your life because of what other people will say, what other people will think? There's one thing that one little sentence that I made up that I want to give to you that will help you with anything in your life that is uncomfortable. Anything. Sickness, money, jobs, love, whatever it is. You just have to change a tiny word maybe to make it fit properly. But it is something that I did the other day, and I've been working on it and finally got it right for you. So I had to write it down. Let me see. Because somebody said to me, "Why do you do that? Why are you like that? Nobody cares." And this was the reply I finally got correct. "My life is better when I assume that people are doing their best.
Yes.
Anybody you could see, make a mistake driving, see somebody swerving when they shouldn't be swerving. Okay. Spilling something, unable to walk properly. I can't always walk properly. The thing of it is, if we could just assume that that person, those people, are doing the best with what they know. Maybe they don't know as much as you do. Doesn't matter. If you can say to yourself, in any situation, my life is better when I assume that people are doing their best. That's a new assumption for me. It can be a new assumption for you in any situation. Do that. Take that expression. It's so much better than a New Year's resolution because it's instantaneous every time you say it. And every time you say it, you have cleansed away from yourself a little bit of those mists and clouds that get in the way of our receiving and accepting our good. That's all it is. There is no other blockage to your good than your belief in untruths. Those people are no good. They shouldn't have to be here. Oh, I heard something similar to that once in a crowded room. I don't know how many people heard it. It felt like my heart crumbled like that. I felt like everybody must be able to see what I'm feeling inside because of those words. And maybe we've been taught that from childhood. We're taught to examine and make judgments. Let us be careful that any of the judgments that we are living our lives with are not cruel and unkind and unworthy of our beautiful souls, the beautiful people that we really are. Saying that simple assumption will keep you out of judgment. If you think about your life and you ask yourself, am I a tad judgmental? Change it. You see, you may not do anything for the person you spoke to or the person you changed your thought about. You may do nothing for them. They may never know you. But you will have done something for yourself. You will have created a clean, pure place where the spirit that you are popped out to say hello. Happy New Year.